mother of my child.
I'm so sorry. I really overstepped, and I need to know when to apologize.
Dude, she was so sweet and so kind. And there was something she said, I brought it up in our wedding vows, where I literally, as I think about it all the time, where I walked in, she was working at the cafe, I walked up, it had been many months, and I was feeling like, did I make a huge mistake? I walked in, and Iz went, Brennan, good to see you. I was thinking about something you said. And, romance is that. To me, like that is, I was thinking about something you said, because when you feel like a ghost, part of what a ghost feels like to me is the second I'm gone, I vanish. And all memory fades, and you don't stick in anyone's mind. And it was the first time that someone in Los Angeles went, I thought about you when you weren't here. And to me, that I remember this feeling of like an airlock opens and the pressure re-equalizes in your heart. And at that point, I was still a total doofus and was like,
just the coffee, thanks.
I was like, you're so nice. Well, here's the thing. You want to be honest about it. What was happening was I was at work and I was trying to be professional. You know, I showed up and she's over here like, dude, I'm trying to line this up. Don't you get it? And meanwhile, I'm like, when I get out of the car here at UCB, I am as sexless as a Ken doll. I am a monk moving through space being like, time to impart lessons of improv comedy. It's truly, you know, because you don't want to be that gross guy who's walking around being like, what can we make happen at the workplace? You know, like, so I was truly buttoned up, and it wasn't until she told me that she was going to move to New York. And I went, oh no. Like, it was crazy. I had just started dating someone. Like, it was just a relationship had just started out. It was not a promise to be a long-term thing. Yeah. But I was like, we should do like an improv show. And she went like, or we could just hang out. And I went, yeah.
Oh, finally, she has led the horse and has forcibly taken the horse's head into the lake.
Into the lake. And I'm like, yeah. Platonic friends hang out. I was like, that was kind of like, you really got upset with this person moving. And then we went to go see Wonder Woman as friends. And I got out of the car and I saw her waiting in front of Phil's Coffee. I just saw her waiting there. It was an 11 a.m. matinee. And I went, oh, you love this person. Like, you have feelings for this person, which means that you're being unfaithful. You're a bad person. You are seeing someone else right now. This is bad. This is bad. Flop sweat. Got through the movie showing and went, this was very nice. Thank you for your time. She moved to New York. Didn't like it, much like you. Came back, and I saw her upstairs at UCB. I'm like, and she went, I moved back. And she ran down the hall and leapt into my arms. Oh. We were pals, you see? And then we got married and had a baby. The thing in my life that I'm the most proud of and the most grateful for is my child.
Not a single person on their deathbed has said, I wished I saw my kids less so I could have worked harder for a bigger boat. Yeah. Not a single person has said that.
Totally.
Unfortunately, due to the theory of large numbers, somebody has said that. We don't like that.
We don't ascribe to that. Yeah. Well, that's the crazy thing, too, is I feel like me and my wife look at each other so... You have this little kid who's discovering the world, and you see the microcosm of everything you know about reality being reflected back in a brand new face and continue whatever this insane story of the universe is. The feeling like, oh, I got to be a link in the coolest chain of all time. How sick is that? Bringing it back to mortality, like, I don't have a higher aspiration than that. I don't want to be around forever. I will be around forever in that I'm a link in this chain that goes all the way into the past and goes all the way into the future. And then I look at people who go, if you have 10 boats, you will be happy. And I go, dog, you're not happy right now.
I know. Brennan, for course number, who knows, of your final meal, we have the most sacred final meal of all. We have your standard diner order. Now, this is a large cheeseburger deluxe. That means wide, not tall. Very important. With the lettuce, the tomato, the bacon, the caramelized onions, American cheese, a nice hard griddle cooked burger to medium well, the waffle fries, pickle spear, chocolate shake. We got refills in the chocolate shake. Cilantro.
I love you, baby. Maybe. A certain amount of seconds is fair use. God damn, that's a good milkshake. I used to order multiples of these. New Paul's Plaza Diner. I think the most I ever did in one night was 5, and I had a gastrointestinal catastrophe like you would not believe.
Now, gastrointestinal catastrophe, that is sort of a Latinification of...
Dude, I had a shit that was crazy.
Yo, I got the crazy shit sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yes! God, it's good to eat.
Come on!
Come on!
Come on!
God, it's good to eat food.
It really is. What if we get to do this every single day, multiple times a day? You have one bad meal, got at least 2 more coming if you're lucky.
It's already in the past. Let go of it.
I know.
Me and my wife don't cook that tremendously much. We have a few staples, right? Latkes is one of them. Mm-hmm. But one of the reasons that cooking is so challenging, I think, for people that want to pick it up and learn it, is that the sorrow I feel when I make something not tasty feels like an outsized punishment, because I think you work up an appetite cooking. If you make something that you don't like, I think it is heartbreaking in a certain way. Is that something that you experienced? Do you have to push past that? Like, how did you first start cooking? And when did you get to the point where you're like, I reliably make things that I like eating?
I got to that point probably by the time I was like 15, 16. I started cooking when it became like my nightly chore around like 10, 11 years old to like cook family dinner every night and kind of shop and keep a budget. Because my dad was like, I don't know how to cook. You're already better than I am. I'm gonna just give you like $60 cash. There's a Trader Joe's and a Ralph's across the street. You figure it out, small child, and I'll clean the toilets. So I started doing that. But I think I've heard you kind of talk about the idea of storytelling as like, there's never a when or a why. It is the primordial. It is just, I've sprung like Athena from Zeus's brain from the idea of telling a story. It's rooted in everything. There's almost this thing with food for me that's always been so intrinsic that like, I'm like borderline, this is weird, like post-appetite. Like, I make food and my appetite doesn't get worked up. I grow to like resent it in a certain way. But no, I'm like always cooking sort of for somebody else and like to practice the craft. And if I cook for myself, I cook like nondescript slop bowl that is like seasoned to my taste and that I can get inside me very quickly. I don't know, it's a very weird relationship for me where I don't have the same sort of emotional attachments to other people because it's almost so important to me.
What I recognize myself is my fear of failure around cooking. I don't have in storytelling.
Yeah.
But it's also one of those things where you just realize that, like, sometimes what I feel very grateful for is how much failure I got to do when I was too young to care.
100%. The first thing that I made for my family under this new program, where I was the cook, it was a Giada Di Laurentiis recipe. It was like potato gnocchi with gorgonzola cream sauce. Tough first recipe, kid. Should have done like shake and bake pork chops. But the gnocchi was so gummy that it was like borderline bubblegum. Like you had to chew through it. And the only reward for chewing through it was getting more broken, grainy gorgonzola cream assaulted in your mouth. But yeah, I have so many memories like that of the stupidest things that they eventually, those mistakes just become intrinsic of you knowing how to never get there again in a certain way.
I worked for many years as an improv teacher, and it's very interesting how you have to develop a relationship to failure as a teacher.
Yeah.
When you're trying to communicate to people who desperately don't want to fail. By the way, I knew this would happen because it's sort of like how like bread always lands, whatever, like butter side down. I knew you were a pickle person. Do you want my pickle?
Yes, thank you so much.
It's how we go.
Why do I like the pickle after eating the burger?
Because it's gonna kill you.
It's gonna kill you. It's the poison in the pickle.
It's deadly poison. Don't touch it. Yeah, this was the signature, man. I ordered this every time. And like, I think SoCal kids have a wider variety of third spaces than kids in the Northeast have. I think there's, depending on where you're at, there's beaches or there's parks.
I'd say ours was called Outside, which was cool.
Yeah, for sure, right? But I think there's parts in the Northeast that it's challenging to find that space. And what diners are, is it's a way for you to get out of whatever you're doing at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. and be like, I want to hang out until midnight. Where can I do that and have a really, really sweet older Greek woman pinch my cheek and call me honey? And that's a diner.
Would you like me to... Oh, honey, you look so good. You're eating your burger so fast. That's my old Greek impression. It feels bad now.
What I love about cooking, it feels very similar to comedy. is that it seems like there are really incredible, almost like deep-rooted principles that govern a lot of it, and then there's also some fun tricks. And tricks are great. I was just thinking about this a second ago when you mentioned, like, oh, you're speaking linguistically, and you know, like I said, I had a gastrointestinal catastrophe.
Yeah.
And then you said, what does that mean? And you're like, I died of huge shit. And there's a funny thing that's like, I was thinking about that, which was literally like a good improv teaching trick of switching up the root language of the words you're using in the middle of a sentence. Yep. So if you're starting Latin-based, go to German by the end. If you're starting romance, you know, like if you're starting romance, go to German at the end. It always works. So it's a big one.
You see the same thing, and you see people like play with this in memes. Like it's not a PB&J sandwich. It's like a laminated whole wheat dough with a sweet and sour Marionberry gastrique and a peanut cream. It's like, no, that's a PB&J sandwich. That's what you can extrapolate anything to have that sort of meaning. But
man, talking about language dividing people, that shit, it really does, it makes my hackles rise up. I know it's funny because I feel like when you grow up, my parents were artists. And art is this weird thing where you can grow up with a lot of access to education, but not a lot of access to money.
Yeah.
And so it's this interesting thing where you end up being like, you can use some like SAT vocab, but like being in a space where it's like, we have a fine dining experience. I feel like a mouse that's just been spotted by a snake. I'm like, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
It freaks me out. There's like I had this thing where I went to go buy earrings for Izzy for the first time after I got a full-time job. It was her birthday. She had played a character in a game that had Chanel earrings. She played a D&D character that she represented Chanel earrings. And I was like, maybe that would be a nice gift to get the earrings that she mentioned the character having. I was like, well, I'll go to the Chanel store. And then, and then I show up and I walk into a room, no jewelry, people wearing all black, surveillance headsets like the president's gonna be like, what's happening? And I walk up to this woman and I'm like, hi, I'm looking to buy earrings for my, at the time, girlfriend. And she's like, are you looking for high jewelry or fine jewelry? And I went, please be nice to me. I don't know what you're talking about. Because I was in like a showroom, I think. I was in like, it wasn't that what the store was. That's like the time that I tried to buy socks at a Gap and I accidentally, in New York City, I was like, oh, there's a Gap in this building on the 38th floor. And it was Gap headquarters. This was when Google Maps was not as good.
Yeah.
I like went past the reception desk and I like walked into like a conference room being like, you guys don't have socks.
I want to circle back to education because, like you said, you were in college at 14, didn't have the high school experience. You mentioned a very formative figure in your life, Professor Tom Davis. What were the biggest lessons that you took away from Professor Davis?
You know, in the eulogy I wrote for him, I said he was like Bugs Bunny, Merlin, and Buddha all rolled up into one person. And he taught classes, he taught broad surveys of like early Western and Eastern philosophy. I did a lot of philosophy and religion classes with him. What he did that I loved was he had a point of view, but when he was teaching, he was performing. And what he was performing as was every time he would explicate a philosophy, he would do it from the perspective of the culture and time that had generated. So every time he advocated a philosophy, he spoke and sounded like someone who believed it. He never had a condescension of being like, and these people at this time believed this. You know what I mean? It was always like, well, let me tell you about something.
And this was truth to someone.
This was truth to somebody. Everything he said, and he's like, of course, like, Christ called us, he died for our sins. He died for our sins. Like everything, and he would perform it, and he would have these chalkboards that he would write words, but he only wrote words for emphasis. So by the end of a lesson, you would be like utilitarianism, deontology, circle, circle, line, Joey from Friends, line, the E equals MC squared, line over here, Jainism, like you'd have all this stuff where it was like, it was so beautiful. And I think that like, also he was just so generous, getting pinned down for like 40 minutes after every class by two 14-year-old homeschool kids in pajama pants being like, I had some thoughts about logic. And you're like, I bet you did, buddy.
Yep.
I think what I took from his classes was a belief that there was nothing dry about it. there was nothing dry in his classes. Everything was earnest and heartfelt and urgent. Like, these were the ideas that people had about the most important questions in their life. What could be navel-gazing about this? What could be academic about this? This is the stuff of life. How do you be good? What is this? Is this for something? And so it's funny because I know that there's this like attitude around philosophy of it being kind of hopelessly detached or aloof, or kind of producing a certain class of person who is emotionally disaffected. Yeah. He was the most affected by the world, by life, by everything. And again, I look back at my work, whether it's D&D campaigns or it's a web comic or it's a screenplay or all the different stuff I've done in my life. I think that everything comes back to an early love of axiology and ethics that I learned from him, because to me it's like, well, what could be frivolous or trivial about how to live a good life? So yeah, I think his fingerprints are on everything I've ever done.
For somebody to imbue you with earnest excitement about something and to give you permission to say you can be very earnestly excited about this thing is, to me, the greatest gift that you can give anybody, and especially those formative ages. Now that like you have the opportunity and likely are the Tom Davis to a lot of people in a certain way, like how much do you take that burden or that privilege onto yourself?
Teaching at UCB and teaching workshops at Wayfinder, the truth is I love teaching. I love it so much. I miss teaching, and I sometimes dream about one day being a little white-bearded old man teaching philosophy somewhere. I think that if there's any part of his life that I would aspire to try to like mimic or model in some way, there's no way to compel people. What he did was reveal to people in his class how fascinating all this was. I think there's some great lessons in there for parenting as well, right? What it felt like he did in his classes was show us how much he loved this stuff. And if I could do that, then that would be
Our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate, is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us. But when we allow our inner light to shine, we subconsciously give others license to do the same. Timo Cruz from Coach Carter, starring Samuel L. Jackson, greatest high school sports movie ever made.
Hell yeah. My greatest fear is the Candiru. It's a fish that swims up your penis.
Oh my God. It's either that or the pools that change color when you pee, because I'd rather have a penis fish than have people know that I do pee in pools. For the final course of your final meal.
Self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm about to die.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Same. We just collapse in each other's arms after this. We have the hot dog soup. This is cut up hot dogs with a can of baked beans and then the Rocky Road ice cream.
Shout out to Joe Mulligan, baby. My dad would whip up some hot dogs, tasty hot dog soup, cut up hot dogs, baked beans. He would do. I think he was a fan of Bushmills, and he would do the
Bushmills Irish whiskey, or Bush's baked beans. Was he also a fan of Bushmills, Brennan?
My dad was a mean drunk. He'd drink that Protestant whiskey and throw hot dogs at me.
Why can't you be more like your father?
Oh, da, boom, bam, hot dog in the eye. Bush's baked beans, or B&M, or some one of those. In any case, he put hot dogs and beans in a bowl and make me eat it. Love you, Dad. Dad, I'm having a food. What's the word when you hallucination? I'm like it's like a fever dream. I can see like a.
So goddamn hot. I think it's so hot.
That is a period accurate. Coming out
fresh out the microwave.
Fresh out the microwave, radioactively hot. Pure nostalgia.
Where are you right now when you log into this taste memory?
Dad's couch, facing east in a railroad apartment on the fourth floor of a building on 50th Street in 1910. On the couch, we're watching Young Frankenstein, and he's whipped up some hot dog soup, and he's teaching me to love movies. Again, not a very classy meal, cut up hot dogs and baked beans, but I don't know, I think my wife just the other day said, like, there's no such thing as a bad hot dog, which is kind of true. Like, a lot of this stuff is so funny because it's like, it's cheap or it's mass produced or it's whatever. There's nothing fine to it. But there's something within that like familiarity that I really desire. This is really wonderful. To whoever made this, by which I mean heated it up, I appreciate it.
And the Rocky Road ice cream, this is just the coup de grace of the entire situation. This is a very dad ice cream flavor.
It is. It's very funny. It's remained my favorite ever since I was a kid. Who would like almonds doesn't like appeal to a child? There's something about it that's just. And can I say, the fact that you source the ice cream that has the marshmallow as actual marshmallow chunks. Get this swirl stuff out of here.
That's not proper Rocky Road.
No, not at all.
I think you called yourself like a stone cold atheist, whereas I'm a cold stone atheist. That means I walk into Cold Stone Creamery.
Dead guy, gotta have it. Dude, I love that. Cold Stone. I'm a Cold Stone atheist. I don't think God's real, but if it's his birthday, I'll sing for him.
Only for a tip.
Yeah, I have described myself as a stone cold atheist. What's so funny is I can't not cry at Christmas Carol. Can't not do it. Destroyed person puts on brave face, will not admit that they are destroyed. Bob Cratchit in the future, walking home, you see the crutch by the fireplace, and it's in his past. Scrooge has not learned his lesson, and so the Cratchits are suffering in poverty. He stops outside the door, sighs. I think about Kermit doing it in Another Christmas Carol. Sighs. The greatest work of art in all of history. And he opens the door and he goes, I've seen his grave up on the hill where he can see the ships come in. He loves it. And says this thing to make everybody else feel like everything's okay. Ooh, I love all the old Christmas hymns like God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen and Good King Wenceslas. Therefore Christian men be sure well for rank possessing. You thou shall bless the poor, shall yourselves find blessing. And you look at all of this. As a stone cold atheist, I feel drawn to people that I sense have a spiritual heft to them, even though I don't think of myself as a spiritual person.
Yeah.
What I love about Christmas, even as someone that doesn't believe in God or doesn't even really believe in the supernatural, I believe, what could be above nature? The thing I think about when I think about Christmas and why I love it so much is I like anything that's still got a little sauce to it. And there's plenty of, I see things that are pretty godless that also seem pretty empty. I see a lot of naked, unspiritual capitalism that doesn't really strike me as being that great of an alternative, even to a cruel and despotic God. Sort of two bad flavors that are each bad in a different way. I relish a time of year that asks us to think about what we owe to our fellow human beings. So it's interesting. I am a stone cold atheist, and yet I feel like the people that I gravitate to are the atheists, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, pagan, of any belief system that believe that there's some good in this world and it's worth fighting for.
You seem like somebody who tremendously loves ritual and tradition.
I do.
I think part of it's almost more impressive that we did all this. We, with our minds.
Yeah.
That's crazy. The power of the human brain to sort of conjure these experiences, these fictions. As far as we know, we're the only animal that can tell fiction, and that's been a massive part of us being able to collectivize. Maybe we did it a little bit too much. Agricultural revolution, could have taken it or left it, but we're here now, and that's pretty cool. We made Rocky Road ice cream.
That's very cool. Is there an argument being made that surplus energy derived from capitalism created hierarchy and therefore despotism? Baby, that's for people smarter than me to figure out. I'm just enjoying my Rocky Road ice cream here in the death throes of a crumbling empire.
When you were walking down the street in New York City, after Professor Davis had passed, and you walked into St. Malachi's church, and you sat in the pews and you saw something. What did you see?
I was at a real low point, mentally, psychically. I was going through a very, very hard time. I walked into this chapel, not because I'm Catholic. I walked in because it's a tiny little place that's echoing and calm in the middle of Midtown Manhattan. That's important. I went in, sat down in the pew, I was crying hard. I was around the 1-year anniversary of the Professor passed. And I look up and I see the back of someone's head. It looks very familiar. And turns around and see Professor Davis. And he smiles and winks and goes, he stands up. He's sweat on his back and he rises up and vanishes. This was in a period of my life where I was routinely staying awake for days at a time. What did I see? Well, I had this experience that a lot of people would call like a religious experience.
What do you call it?
I went back to use the tools that I had picked up in studying those philosophy classes. And I said, well, let's see, what are some possible explanations for this? One possible explanation is that when you die, God conscripts you into an army of winged men and tasks you with certain missions on Earth. And of the tasks that are put before this supernatural host are helping out a 20-something-year-old white kid in New York who's a film major who's having a hard emotional time and allowing other untold atrocities to unfold ad infinitum throughout the world and its history. Or another explanation is that there was a man who lived for a period of time on this earth whose impact on my life was so incredibly profound that I tied him into the symbol, one of the symbols that I love most for the force of good in the world, such that when I was in a state of peak, looking for answers, a part of my mind reminded me that he and what he represented was I like that explanation a little more. I really miss him a lot. And he is still, to me, a symbol for the fact that the examined life is the life worth living. My mom said a great thing, because my mom was a totally awesome, she loves science. She's a skeptical, rational person. And we did like beltane rituals growing up, spring pagan stuff. You know, Celtic paganism is great in terms of searching for, there's not a lot of mysticism to hide behind. Sort of like Manon and MacLear, 13-foot tall god of the sea, lives in a castle, 8 golden rams. Are you in or you out? You in or you out, baby?
Oh, you know I'm in.
There's not a Gnostic text of Manon and MacLear. You know, there's not like, maybe Manon is a metaphor for it. It's like, it's like, you know, it's a piece of poetry. But what I love is my mom said this great thing when I was asking her about kind of like ritual. You know, if we don't believe in the supernatural, what the fuck are we doing out here doing rituals for? And she said, you only have to believe for the length of the ritual. And what I love about that is it sort of tells you sometimes you need a little bit of poetry. Sometimes you need to believe that there is light in the world and that it's with you in a given moment. But I think it's really important for a lot of reasons, a lot of them having to do with kindness, to keep those lines really clear. Because if you start to take the poetic truths out of poetry land, and you go like, the light shines on me, that's why I'm rich. And if you're poor, it means the light's not shining on you.
Yes.
There are moments where you have to go, hey, drop the poetry for a second. Come be in the real world with me, right? Don't bring the poetry into the practical, but also don't live a life without poetry. Maybe that's the lesson.
I know you don't like to prognosticate on the future because everything is sort of just luck. And I know that ultimately when you die, the only things left will be 2 Costa Rican screws. But Brennan, if you was a betting man, what happens when you die? Mostly to the Costa Rican screws.
I have 2 really wonderful implants from the Dentovac Clínica Dental in Costa Rica. And yeah, my doctor did say when I had these 2 implants, there's one of them ends kind of under my nose. If I bite into something that's sort of like an apple, I can feel a twinge under my right eyeball. Relax! Hey, when you don't have health insurance. The doctor actually took me aside and he was like, Mr. Mulligan, this surgery was successful. Also, if you are ever cremated, this will be the last memory. Will be these 2 fake teeth. And literally...
And his bedside manner is his strong suit.
I was like, I was pretty much shake them and I was like, will it? And he's like, yes, like a rabbit. Chicken. What happens when you die as the story goes? I think the thing that will ultimately, you know, you had that great quote of like, the thing we fear most is that we're powerful beyond belief. I think the thing we fear most is that the party will go on without us. Someone talked about the preponderance of apocalyptic media. And one of my favorite writers, Daniel Ortberg, said this great thing, which is basically like, apocalypse media is the fantasy that the world will end before you do. And that you and your friends will be the main thing going on.
Yeah.
But this story is not going to end anytime soon. And when I'm gone, other people get their turn. And it's beautiful. And I got married. To imagine that I am owed some better deal that I have no proof exists is not something that it occurs to me to want. This was a great deal. And I got a better deal than a lot of people through dumb luck.
Ready to move on to lightning round?
Let's do it.
Who's the one person, dead or alive, you'd want to share your actual last meal with?
Izzy.
What song do you want to be played at your funeral?
I'm just gonna, it's lightning. I said, oh, we're halfway there. Oh, living on a prayer.
It'll be public domain by then.
Yeah.
Now that we've known each other for roughly 2 hours, how would you introduce me as an NPC to your intrepid heroes in future campaign?
This is Josh. Josh is a level 20 chef, and he is a delightful human being and a wonderful guy. It's true, man. Let's hang out.
I really like that.
I'll hit you up after we're done recording.
I'm gonna say like fearsome warrior, huge traps.
God, fine. His traps are huge.
Thank you.
Jesus.
You're doing micro shrugs. Who's your dream eulogizer at your funeral?
By definition, I won't be able to, but I'd love to know what my life is.
Upload to the cloud where your consciousness in the store. Is there a trial you thought about putting Sam Reich through for Samalama Ding Dong but did not?
Some of my earlier pitches for Samalama Ding Dong, I was pulled aside and they were like, hey, that's coming across a little hostile. We had to scale back.
What's your biggest fear?
My greatest fear is the Candiro. It's a fish that swims up your penis. Not living my life in such a way that it matches up with what I want to spend my time here doing.
Brennan, we have weighed all of the food in your last meal. How much do you think your last meal weighed? I was handed the results, and I have not yet looked at it.
I think we come in at a healthy 5 pounds.
26 pounds or 415.3 ounces. That's with everything on the table. That pizza was 5 pounds by itself, for those thick pizza. Do you feel how heavy that bag was? None of this food will go to waste, to be clear.
So, okay. So I guess 5, but it was 26.
Finally, Brennan, are you happy?
Yeah, I'm really happy.
You seem really happy, man. I'm really happy for you. And I don't know if it's silly to, like, congratulate someone on the body of work of their life. Not your career, but, like, it's genuinely, I don't want to say inspiring. I was going to say, like, I admire it. I truly, truly do, man. So thank you.
Oh, man. First of all, I've just had all of my favorite food in the world beautifully and lovingly prepared. So on a pure animal level, I'm blissed out in a way where I need help getting home.
Yeah.
Help me. But number 2, it's always really lovely when you walk into a place and I think you get a vibe of like, oh, kindred spirits. People that feel the same way I feel about life in the world, and I think that there's this one of the most bizarre illusions of modernity is this idea that we're alone, and it's really lovely when you walk into a place and you go, oh, there's a whole other front in the world and in this like struggle for a better, brighter world, and you walk in and go, and here's a whole group of people that shared my values who I'd never met before. It's really encouraging and delightful and lovely.
This has been incredible. Brennan, if you want to deliver your last words to that camera right there.
I loved this, and that's applicable here, and it will be the last thing I feel when it is actually time for this.
And I love this too. This meal, not your eventual death. We'll see how I feel about that.
When it happens, I have time to turn it around.
What do you got? Anything to plug? Critical Role?
You got Critical Role, Campaign 4 coming out on Thursdays on Twitch and YouTube and Beacon. You got Dimension 20 that's coming out Wednesdays on
Dropout.
Yeah, Dropout. Dimension 20's on Dropout. You go to dropout.tv, you get that. Worlds Beyond Number. It premieres on Tuesdays. You can go check out podcast Worlds Beyond Number. You can find me at Brandon Lee Mulligan on Blue Sky and Instagram. And you can find me, the human, in a ditch after this.
Yeah.
You're going to roll me out of here like that blueberry girl from Willy Wonka.
Violet Beauregard. And not a ditch. It's actually a gully. It's really nice.
But it's dry.
We all gotta eat, and we know you're dying to get your hands on a last meal's apron and pin. Get yours now at mythical.com.
Hi, this is Matthew Mercer, and this is my last meal.
Every person has exactly 2 things in common. We all gotta eat and we're all gonna die. Today's guest is the voice behind some of your favorite characters from animation and video games, and he's also the Chief Creative Officer for Critical Role, whose new animated series, The Mighty Nine, is out now on Prime Video, but his first true love was illustration because he started quite the small business in middle school. Matthew Mercer, welcome to the show.
Hey, so happy to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
Of course, tell me about this little cottage industry you started in middle school. You were drawing comic book characters.
We're going right to it with this.
On commission. No, I'm fascinated by the entrepreneurial spirit.
So yeah, okay, understood. Like I, as a child, I loved to draw. I had a bunch of sketchbooks. It was very much kind of my youth's main hobby was drawing and sketching, and I loved comics and creatures and monsters, and you also don't have a lot of ways of making money when you're a kid. Sure. So when I was in middle school, this is pre-internet, in which adult materials were far more difficult to acquire. So there was a lot of interest from a lot of young kids that I went to school with to pay me to draw them my opinion of what a naked body would look like.
Now, when you say your opinion of what a naked body would look like, some would say there's an objective fact of what they look like, but you just sort of had to make it up in your own mind.
Parts of it, yes. You know, being a young boy who also didn't have access to any of these things, like I could kind of glean the overall structure, but when it came to details, I had to kind of fill in the gaps, if you will.
Fill in the gaps, leave some of the gaps empty, try and figure out where the gaps were.
Exactly. Yeah, it was very much like everything from like Chun-Li to Wolverine to like pretty much most of the X-Men. I drew a lot of characters naked.
It was mostly X-Men, it sounds like.
A lot of it, yeah. Because I mean, me and my friends were heavily into Marvel Comics at that time, and both, you know, from across the whole gender spectrum, really. So yeah, I learned a lot about anatomy through trial and error.
That's so beautiful. I can't wait to see what Wolverine looks like down there.
I think there were a few different interpretations.
Is it retractable?
Well, I would hope so. Otherwise, he should get that looked at by a doctor.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining me on Last Meals. This is the general tone of the show. Welcome.
I love it. No, wait, you know, to break it wide open. Right.
Absolutely. Have you thought about your last meal before?
For me, like when the opportunity came up, I was like, what is last meal? Is it just something that's delicious? It's like, no, what's something that to me is almost like a culmination of memories attached to food.
Yeah.
You know? So that was kind of like where I was coming back. It's like, what would I want to eat? And part of that process of eating it would kind of revisit important things from my life.
I think that's like a real craftsman storyteller's way of approaching this, which is like obviously very befitting of your character, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I hope so.
Did any of those memories that were brought up from the dishes you chose surprise you?
Yeah, there were a lot of things I wrote down and then just got rid of them because I was like, this is delicious, but it doesn't have like a deep personal resonance. And so, yeah, I ended up just kind of picking the ones that really kind of meant something to me. There are a couple in there that are just really delicious, but have a little bit of,
Sure.
a little bit of resonance. But yeah, I just kind of, I guess, if you're gonna have a last meal, you know, let it bring you through your own journey in a way.
Yeah.
So kind of an autobiographical meal, I guess.
No, I think I think exactly that. Yeah.
That was my inspiration.
I can't wait to eat your memories.
I will quote you on that for a long time. What a wonderful like antagonist line in a horror film. I can't wait to see your memories.
And I would only want you to voice that character.
You know, if we come around to it, I'll give you co-production credit.
Perfect. Well, at least let me PA. How often do you think about death in general?
Not terribly often. It's hard not to consider mortality as a mortal.
Yeah. You said as a mortal as if there was an opportunity for you to not be immortal, as if you sort of chose that, you know?
You know, quit or talk if you give in to that too early.
Point.
No, it's interesting. I've come in recent years to understand that I don't think I fear death. If anything, it's what makes a lot of things beautiful. I don't want it to happen sooner than I'm ready, of course, but like, I don't have a lot of existential dread, 3 a.m. in the darkness moments these days. I had those when I was younger a little bit, but I've kind of come to terms with it a little bit.
Do you think like part of that is wisdom? Like as you get older, you sort of understand almost cosmically that death is really the only thing giving life context?
Wisdom could be a word for it. I could also very well be just ignorance. It could be
tired. Yeah. When you have more energy, you can think about death.
Yeah. I don't have the bandwidth for death anymore. I think about it more in like the metaphysical context of trying to figure out what is beyond it from my standpoint. You know, it's less about I'm scared of the prospect, and more like, what's a fun theory that could be beyond this?
Yeah.
What's another fun theory? What, you know, researching, I actually love researching and studying death rituals through history, through cultures, and how much is unique and how much is shared. And kind of through those shared spaces, there's a lot of really fascinating philosophies that I think are beautiful means of continuation from generation to generation. But also, I have a love of physics, astrophysics, quantum physics. And the more you look into quantum physics, the weirder it gets to the point where it starts also kind of dispelling my fear of oblivion to a degree.
I can't wait to eat dumplings and get into it. You ready to eat?
I'm so ready to
Let's
eat.
do it. All right, Matthew, for the first course of your final meal, we have a Caesar salad, classic romaine, anchovy, egg yolk, and Dijon dressing, fresh shaved Parmesan and homemade croutons on top. And then we have the Southern style chicken and dumplings. We have the biscuit dough on top of just like your classic chicken pot pie filling, a little bit of rosemary and thyme in there. And then we have an old fashioned. This is actually made with overproof rye. This is my favorite way to do it. A little bit of Angostura bitters, and then of course fresh orange that's not there.
Thank you.
Cheers, man.
Goodness.
Wait, what a way to wake up.
I'm about to say, like, which ways to start your day?
Can I dish you some dumplings?
Please do. I'm so excited.
Tell me about the dumplings. How did this make it on the last meals menu?
I come from a southern family, you know, a lot of families from the Carolinas, Georgia, Florida, which is where I originally grew up as a young kid. And chicken and dumplings is just a classic kind of comfort meal, but it's specifically comfort in my family because whenever I was sick as a kid, my mom would make me either chicken and rice or chicken and dumplings. And I was actually deciding between those two. It was just, I had this memory of feeling protected, of feeling warm, of recovering and being with family, and it made me think of my mom, and was just very appreciative of that. But then years later, when me and my wife Marisha started dating, she's from Kentucky, early into our relationship wanted to cook and said, I'm gonna make you my esteemed chicken and dumplings. And it was one of those like, oh my God, I love you even more because you make one of the best Southern meals. And then her version was unique but close in the flavor and texture palette to what I grew up with. And so now it's almost like bookended between my mom who raised me and now my partner who shows that as a way of sharing her love of culinary arts and cooking with me and friends as well. And so to me, it just kind of felt like a good bookend of the woman who was most important in my younger part of my life and the woman who's now most important in my life going forward. So it had that kind of personal significance, and it's just delicious. So.
Man, that was beautiful. And when you were sick as a child, your mother used to make you old fashions as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
The Southern way. Cure it with whiskey. Cure it with a little, put it on the gums, get them to stop crying.
Exactly, well, it's funny because like I didn't drink until I was in my mid-20s or so. My, with and I think I've talked about a few things. But my father, who I love to death, he's a wonderful person, but he's had his challenges with alcohol and addiction and stuff like that. And so he's clean now for quite some time. But because of that, I didn't drink for a long time because I was afraid that I would kind of be subject to the same predilections.
Yeah, of course.
It wasn't until I started dating my wife Marisha, but she's from Kentucky, and bourbon is a very big thing. And so she loved wine, she loved bourbon and whiskey, and I didn't really care for either.
Yeah.
And she went, we're going to change that. And so Old Fashioned is one of those drinks that kind of initially taught me, like, oh, there's so many different unique flavor profiles that can pair with whiskey and bourbon that can completely change the mood and the feel and the taste of what you can enjoy whiskey for. And so the Old Fashioned has since become like a staple of my relaxation, so like before getting on a plane or when I get home after a long day, at the end of the week. It's gentle, it's simple, and I find it the comfort drink to match the comfort food.
I was gonna say that there seems to be like a real theme of comfort here, and then of course a lot of it like centering around Marisha, which I think is really beautiful. Dig in, oh please, I'm on you. This is your last meal. You go as crazy as you want to. Did you feel pressure to order a salad because you thought you should?
To bring back to the story, my dad made the most incredible Caesar salad growing up. There's a lot of family stories here. I'm sorry.
No, this is perfect. I mean, especially seeing like why it's important to you. This is awesome.
My dad very much was like the culinary king of the kitchen. He would make like the tri-tip steaks and the grill master, and but the Caesar salad was something that he was renowned for within our, not just our family circles, but eventually expanding friend circles. His dressing was so unique and delicious that friends would ask him to make batches to host his Caesar salad at their parties. When we first moved to LA, we were a bunch of bumpkins out of Florida, and we'd have people who would hear about his Caesar salad and be like, hey, we'll pay you to make a large batch and go, you know, prepare it at this big party where up in the Hollywood Hills or somewhere, and people would comment like, this is the best Caesar I've ever had in my life. And
Is your dad Ken of Ken's Caesar salad dressing?
he is not.
Damn it.
Not. He is a wonderful, and I say this with absolute love, hippie-ass musician in Hawaii. I love him so much. But his Caesar salad to this day is such an incredible thing, and it's just touched many lives, myself included.
I need to try your father's Caesar salad dressing. I need to see what is. I want to try and decode it. Has he told you the secret ingredient to it? Or is that going to be a thing where like he's on his deathbed? And it's like my son.
I've asked, and he's tried, but like, I asked him, I said, could you write it down for the sake of like, you know, lineage and legacy? And he goes, it's just kind of a vibes thing. I'm like, well,
You
that
did say
doesn't help.
hippie-ass musician in Hawaii. That makes sense. Yeah,
I
yeah.
love it. But no, he'll be out here for the holidays, so maybe I'll see if I can make an extra large batch, and then I'll just have to bring it by the studio.
I would genuinely love that.
I'm gonna note that. I'm gonna take you up on that.
Digging into the dumplings, I don't know if you believe in the butterfly effect, but there's a world in which if Burt Reynolds never exists, then you were never born. How does Burt Reynolds factor so much into your existence?
Part of the reason we're even here in LA is through that weird pipeline. I would probably,
We actually get most of our guests via the Burt Reynolds pipeline. You'd be surprised how common it is.
I mean, it's a strong pipeline, and I'm thankful for it. No, yeah, my grandmother met him many years ago. I think she was like working real estate in Florida, and he was like getting his Florida ranch set up in like the 70s, 80s, and he just liked her energy, I guess, like, and hired her on to begin like assisting in parts of production. And so she went from just being a Carolina woman with a, you know, strong motherly opinion. She's been, you know, in many cases in her life a single mother through her 6 marriages. She's a badass.
Damn.
She was a badass. And so it was through her working through happenstance with Burt Reynolds through that meeting to then become part of his production company, and then was like an executive producer on his show Evening Shade back in the early 90s. And so she was like the cool grandma who lived out here in LA and had like a Corvette. And so we'd come out and visit her, and then eventually she helped my mom get a script opportunity, and then we all moved out to LA so that she could pursue writing as a career. And so that was our impetus as a family when I was like 7 and 8.
Yeah.
To come from Florida, to escape Florida. You don't move out of Florida, you escape Florida.
It's a fair point. Yeah.
To come out to LA.
I heard after Escape from New York and Escape from LA, they tried to make Escape from Florida, but they're still shooting it. Kurt Russell's just still there. He's like, oh, I got to Tallahassee and I don't know where to go.
It's hard to get out of there.
There's also a tie-in with Burt Reynolds to Dungeons and Dragons in your family. Campaign 1 of Critical Role, episode 105 and 106. You played with a character that your mom played with in the back of the Burt Reynolds dinner theater in Florida about 30 years prior.
Correct.
That's crazy. How did that feel?
So yeah, so the pipeline from there was Burt Reynolds at the time was working with my grandma. My grandma was then actually helping manage the Burt Reynolds dinner theater in Jupiter, Florida, which was this kind of major southeast destination for traveling theater at that time in the U.S. And my mom began working out there, working under her mom. My dad, when he started dating my mom, was helping do audio up in the audio booth, and they were all kind of, it's like a theater family at that point. One of the apprentices at the time was an amazing young actor named Darren DePaul, who befriended my parents at the time, worked with my grandma, and played D&D at that theater back in the earlier days of it. Made his first D&D character there. Then he went off to pursue a career in New York for many years. Our lives scattered. If I wasn't an infant, I maybe not have been born yet when they were doing this.
Were you conceived that night?
Probably. Look, Darren's that powerful.
I get it.
He probably, like, whenever my parents went, like, the two of you, it's time. You hear that voice, and I mean, I drop my pants.
I'm feeling something.
That's inappropriate. I'm sorry, Darren. I'm sorry.
Darren, we haven't met, but I'm not sorry at all.
This is so good. So anyway, long story short, many, many years later, I was working on a few voiceover projects here in LA with this amazing individual, this charismatic but sweet and lovely man in glasses and a vest. He dressed like a tax preparer from the 70s. And we became friends, and eventually through conversation, he mentioned that he used to be at the, an apprentice at the Burt Reynolds Dinner Theater, and I was like, do you know Elaine? He's like, yeah, why? I'm like, that's my grandmother. And it was this weird moment of us being friends for now years at this point, and then realizing our lives have been intertwined from long before that. And then he got to play that same D&D character on Critical Role as kind of a continuation of that weird lineage.
Burt Reynolds, man, tying everything together.
Yeah.
The Longest Yard.
Thanks, Burt.
Smokey and the Bandit.
Bert's a complicated.
Burt is a complicated. R.I.P. to Burt Reynolds.
Indeed, but for all the great things you may have done intentionally or not in your life, thank you for at least giving my grandma the opportunity to be cool.
What was your first interaction with Dungeons and Dragons? I know your mom bought the monster manual from a garage sale, but had you actually played the game at that point at all, or you were just drawing the characters naked?
No, I didn't have the cool friends that wanted D&D monsters naked yet. Well, the internet that hadn't picked up as a
So you got the
subgenre
DMs
quite
that I've sent you then? Okay.
Yeah,
good,
no,
good,
and
good,
I
good.
immediately till the end of December to finish the mission.
I wait for quality.
But no, I hadn't played. I never had the opportunity. I'd heard about it like as a young kid, but I didn't really understand what it was. I was really deeply into mythology and cryptozoology and just like weird paranormal stuff. I had like the Old Time Life, like black leather bound, Mysteries of the Unknown books. Like I think Ghostbusters really, as a kid, picked off my love of the paranormal and strange stuff, and then mythology led into reading about creatures and monsters I love to draw in my sketchbook. So I'd always heard about D&D, but never had the opportunity to engage with it really. And so my mom knew what I loved as far as like video games and creatures and myth, and found this book for me at a garage sale. And once again, I still didn't have any friends to play with. It's a theme in my younger years, but I loved reading it, like all the lore around these creatures, and it was just kind of an inspiring exercise in imagination as an indoor kid that loved to read.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until high school that I had the chance to actually play with. So for many years, yeah, I was just kind of reading through the book and enjoying it in my imagination.
Just stashing up knowledge.
Kind of, yeah, unintentionally. Sure. I had no idea any of this would lead anywhere, but it's been a weird journey.
Were there ever any other like adult figures, say in high school, that kind of influenced your fantasy journey?
Parents, of course, helped out. Video games was an avenue that helped me kind of explore that in a lot of worlds, a lot of early RPGs and JRPGs to like the Super Nintendo era and early PlayStation era. But there was a teacher in high school named Mr. Busby at my high school. He was at the time, like it was his first year teaching. And I was preparing, I think I was writing stuff for my home game, my first year into really playing as a dungeon master. I finished my test early and I was like writing out stuff and sketching an NPC, and he took note of it at the end of class. He was like, what were you doing there? I was like, oh, I'm just making stuff for my D&D campaign. He's like, cool. I played a lot of RPGs too. Have you heard of, and he started to run down all these different games I hadn't heard of, that like Shadowrun, Amber, the diceless role-playing game. And he began to he was the first young hip adult in my life that was like, oh hey, it's cool to be a reader. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
And so he lent me a bunch of novels that he loved as well, and we would talk. I would finish my tests early, bragging on that a little bit, and then I'd go over and we just chat about RPGs and fantasy worlds.
How long has it been since you talked to him?
It's probably been a few years that we've kept up, and I've come and visited and got lunch with him a few times.
Well, we do have a special message from him.
What?
Surprise, it's Mr. Busby. Good to see you again. Nice to see you, talk to you. So Josh asked me to share a story about you.
It's Mr. Busby.
Some kids were making fun of Matt. They were teasing him because Matt was the only kid who was taking dance as his PE class as a sophomore. And then I just kind of announced to the group, I said, you're all idiots. And everyone shuts up and looks at me confused. And I said, let me make sure I have this straight. So Matt's the one guy taking dance with like 60 girls. and you guys are making fun of him, who's really the idiots here, right? And so everyone's kind of thought about that, and I think Matt appreciated it. I remember that because one of the things I love about Matt is that, sure, he feels peer pressure like the rest of us, but he doesn't let it distract him from what he's excited about, what he's passionate about, what he wants to do. And so, Matt, I'm proud of you. Keep up the good work, and start making Shadowrun as famous as D&D zone. Right? Have a good one.
You had to plug Shadowrun.
That's incredible. Oh my, you are a talented manipulator.
Thank you so much.
Well
That's the
done.
name of the game. You're blinded by the chicken and dumplings and the whiskey.
It's easy to be blinded by it. It's really tasty.
What a cool first adult to have in your life, though.
He's one of those teachers that put far more effort than he needed to.
Yeah.
I remember we were doing European history and we had gotten into World War I, and we came to class and the lights were off and he had arranged all the desks into trenches. And so we spent the class sitting in trenches, discussing trench warfare and the horrors of war this whole time, and that was just an example of like the immersive aspect of his curriculum that you could see he meaningfully wanted you to understand, live in these spaces and absorb the lessons that he's trying to get to you. The special teachers that you could see understood the importance and the responsibility of what he was trying to do. And that has never been lost on me, and I still to this day take a lot of inspiration to put just a little extra effort when it comes to mentoring, when it comes to teaching, to kind of think back to what he did for me and carry that forward in what ways I can.
Yeah. Matthew, for course number 2 of your final meal, we have the steak and cheese quesadilla from Casitas Tacos al Carbon, and then we have the chicken curry katsu with just a little bit of shaved cabbage, some scallion, some ginger dressing, and then hot sauce as the gentleman pleases, down to the bottom third, but that's actually where it concentrates from all the evaporation better. This is well used. Dig in, man. Where are we going first?
Let's go to the quesadillas.
I think quesadillas have, there's like a proper order to this. Quesadillas, they have a quicker mortality rate.
That's true, yeah,
You
because
know?
it congeal over time. I agree.
What's the significance behind Casitas Tacos al Carbon? A place that I have been to dozens of times without ever knowing the name of it.
Oh, boom. It's the best quesadilla in the world.
That's such a good quesadilla.
It's so good!
Such a good quesadilla.
There's something, and they've held this flavor for like 30 years. I don't know what their secret thing is, but
Never watched The Grill. That's the secret.
That could be it. They shave about 10 years off the lifespan, but it's worth it. Yeah, so bring it back to my father, when we all moved to LA and had aspirations of working in the industry, not everything pans out as you expect. And as a musician, he went where all musicians eventually go to pasture, which is audio post, where it is a sea of
A noble job.
a noble job, but it is a sea of ponytails and button-up Hawaiian shirts and beards, and people playing guitar.
They all go to the same Jimmy Buffett concert.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
To spend time with him, if we had the time, me and my brother would go with him to his shift, and we'd bring like blankets and pillows, and we'd end up like falling asleep underneath the audio bench, and one of the places he worked at was right around the corner from Casitas, and he would go there for dinner almost every night. And so whenever we'd go, he would take us, and it was even just the first time trying the most delicious quesadilla I've ever had that first time, and then consistently every time since then. So it kind of became this. When I was a kid, I didn't have a car for a long time, so I only went there when it was to go spend the evening with my dad at his work.
It's so funny the way that you can almost transmit those taste memories, because I've eaten here dozens of times, and I'm not kidding you when I say that I forget the name of it, because to me this is the kind of quotidian lunch. I never noticed how good it is. Like, that flavor that you're talking about, that's like real proper northern Mexican mesquite. Like, the carbone literally means carbon, it's charcoal. Like, this is a really, really proper quesadilla. It's like a gift. It's like you're giving someone a gift of a new experience, despite the fact they've already had it.
Oh, I'm happy to hear that.
You know?
Yeah, the one that we went to continuously was the one in Burbank, since that's where all like the audio post houses were. There's another one in North Hollywood as well that is pretty dang close flavor-wise, consistency. So if anyone's traveling to the San Fernando Valley and you want to have the best quesadilla, go to Casitas Tacos al Carbon. It is so good. Okay.
Does this have anything to do with a Japanese multi-level porn-themed hotel?
We don't have the right sausage for that.
Okay, gotcha.
Actually, this will kind of tie into some of the previous dishes. I grew up with a pretty picky palate as a child. As I came into adulthood, I tried to intentionally expand my palate. Some things I realized, because your palate changes as you get older, and you're like, oh, I actually like this now, or I enjoy it. Some things consistently, no. But like curries and spicy food I tried to avoid because I didn't like it as a kid. And it wasn't until I had discovered anime conventions as a teenager and kind of met a new friend circle through cosplay and just being a bunch of anime nerds at a con that I began to be introduced to a lot of Japanese foods that I had never had before or avoided. Sushi to me seemed grotesque. Why would you eat not cooked fish? And then I actually tried some and was like, oh, this is actually really good.
I get it.
But this in particular, there's something about Japanese curry, and I appreciate all curry now. Like I love Indian curry, I love Southeast Asian curry, I love all these different types of curry, but there's something about Japanese curry in particular that is so specifically delicious when paired with rice that I have gone out of my way to keep at least a few bricks of the ready-made curry in our pantry, in our kitchen, just in case the mood strikes, that we can go ahead and properly wash some rice and make a meal out of it. And then of course the katsu chicken just pairs with it well as far as like texture goes. As a chicken fan especially.
This is very close to a Southern American dish. This is fried chicken, gravy, and rice. All three of those things are eaten a hell of a lot in American Southern cuisine.
Absolutely.
Oh, damn. I want to ask you about Critical Role. Is it true that Travis Willingham became the CEO because he was the only one who was willing to open a bank account under his name?
Kind of.
Next question.
Was becoming something whether we were ready or not. And so it was about trying to be the most responsible we could with this kind of lightning in a bottle momentum. And part of that was going into business together, which is a terrifying thing. And we all had a very, very extensive series of meetings. We're all like in living room with pads of paper and we're like, how do we do this? We're all actors. We have no idea how this is supposed to function. But Travis just kind of has that natural leadership quality already. Yeah, the height helps, the width, the general just girth of a man that he is. It very much kind of felt like the natural role.
It's actually a really interesting check and balance system where, well, nobody's exactly doing what they wanted to do, but what's been foisted upon them with a sense of duty.
Yeah, which I mean, that's all healthy leaders should be chosen really to a certain degree. Even he was like, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm gonna start researching. And as the years have gone on, he's done, I don't think people appreciate within our community beyond quite how hard that man has worked to protect what we've built, who we are as people. He is truly the lion guardian to this magical little crew of people. I say little crew of people, I think that extends to all the wonderful collaborators we work with, all the people that are now part of our extended family. Like he's gone toe to toe with some beasts, and I am so endlessly proud and thankful. I couldn't imagine anybody else I would, trust more than him to go into battle alongside.
Yeah. So I had never actually watched like an actual D&D playthrough. And then I started watching Campaign 3. In full disclosure, I did skip around. But I ended up...
It's a lot of content.
It is a lot of content, which the thing that really shocked me was there's an amount of intimacy to it that I wasn't really expecting. Not intimacy like the drawings you used to make in middle school, but I mean like real, genuine, emotional human intimacy. And I was trying to pinpoint where it comes from, and I think it's you and the job you're doing. It's like DMing is like a gift that you're giving people. It's a story that's crafted with so much love and care, and it's like you're bestowing it upon them, but then there's also this like trust from, the actual players of the game, and it's this exchange of intimacy that extends to the audience. And I had like a very emotional moment. I was walking around a park staring at trees just with a grin on my face, watching this transpire. Does that sound anything like the feeling that you get when you're doing this?
Absolutely. Playing one of these games is joyful with a group of people that you appreciate and trust. It's not easy, it takes time, it takes care, but to me, it also shows how much I want to invest in somebody else's joy.
Yeah.
I'm like, look, I care about you so much. I've taken a healthy chunk out of my rare free time and this time that I have on this planet to build an experience for you to be your most heroic self. And I'm excited to see you break it in all the most beautiful ways that you can. It's been how I made most of my friends growing up, as a kind of shy, somewhat introverted kid up until my late high school years, until theater kind of pulled me a little out of my shell. But even like theater, I didn't get into until I'd been playing role-playing games as a way to kind of show me that I had ways to engage with people.
Yeah.
Well, I had to burp loudly on this.
Oh, 100%.
Good, because it's coming.
I'm like 2 minutes behind you, brother.
Good. Yeah, this type of collaborative storytelling that tabletop RPGs allow is one of the most accessible cheat codes to that experience. There's so many ways you can do it. So many hobbies, you know, going on hikes together, going and, you know, I know.
No, I'm saying this.
Oh,
this is a hobby to connect people.
And I'm like,
no,
I will continue to eat. You don't gotta push me, man.
Eat faster, asshole. Stop yapping. No, I'm saying that like this has always been my way to bridge that gap. It's the same. It's like what lens do you view the world through in a certain regard, you know?
I'm glad you brought that up. Finding those things in your life that you're passionate about that you can share with others as that expression of investing in them. Games have always been that. And yeah, that's kind of why I think Critical Role even found an audience in what was, it still is, a very proliferated media landscape. Is we're not trying to create a show to sell. We're playing this for each other. Like, and as much as people on the internet like to say otherwise, I know better because I'm there, I'm in it. This is me wanting to give something to my friends every week and truly appreciating each other, loving each other, sharing in this joy together, and then hopefully through that, you know, opening the window to an audience to inspire them to do the same in whatever way they feel inspired to.
Yeah. That said, sometimes you get sick of cooking and you're like, damn, I wish someone would cook for me. And then now in campaign 4, you find yourself playing for the first time in 10 years.
I am. I got to step back and let my boy Brendan Lee Mulligan step in, who you've also had on this show.
Veteran of the show, similar taste in food. I love it so much. It's all the best foods. Did actually playing a character now instead of DMing, did any of that reignite some love you had for Dungeons & Dragons?
Absolutely. First off, you were totally right. Dip that in there. Two things I would never have thought to combine made better.
Amen.
It's like you know what you're doing.
It's my gift to you. It's my gift to you. Like a sommelier.
After 10 years, one, I felt time for a change, bring in some new friends, some new perspectives, some new blood. Brendan has become such a dear friend over these years, and someone that I entrust not just with his capabilities as a storyteller, but his heart, his sense of ethics, and every facet of him. I see part of the person I want to be in him, and I was like, this is the person I could trust to hand this over to. And I was very grateful at an early time that he was kind of wanting to already, but now then getting to be a player